How did Russia retain the permanent seat in the UN Security Council when the USSR disintegrated? Didn't the West or the USA try to block Russia? I mean, they had the opportunity to run the agenda that UNSC permanent seat belongs to the sovereign state of the USSR, and Russia is a totally different state or something like that. So, what really happened? This is an excellent question. How come nobody has asked me this question before? How come nobody has asked me? Mhm. So, what happened? We know, I hope we know, that the USSR collapsed in late 1991, right? Late 91 is when the USSR collapsed. And the various Central Asian republics declared independence. Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, blah, 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 all these nations, okay? Like there were, and they formed something called the Commonwealth of Independent States, the CIS. And there were 12 members of the CIS. So in late 1991, 11 out of these 12 CIS member states, they signed a declaration, and they said that the member states of the CIS agree, they don't agree, they support Russia in taking over the USSR membership in the United Nations, including permanent membership in the Security Council. So they signed this, and then the United Nations agreed to have Russia replace the USSR, and then things continued the way they did. Now there have been questions about the legality of all this and all, but it by the time it was a fait accompli and it was just already done. So it's because the CIS, the Commonwealth of Independent States, 11 out of the 12 members supported Russia as a replacement for the USSR. That's why Russia retained, or Russia took over the USSR's permanent seat in the UN Security Council. Now, the good question over here is that why did the US or the West not try to block Russia? Excellent question, right? And that's what makes this question interesting. Who cares about these small nations? I mean, small and mostly powerless nations signing this memorandum or whatever. So what? If the big daddy, the US, vetoes this proposal, then it's all over, right? Because in the UN Security Council, just one member out of the five vetoing something is game over. So, what really happened? This happened. Russia was able to do this only because the US was okay with it. See, what happened when the USSR disintegrated is that Mikhail Gorbachev lost power. The nation disintegrated. And what was left was Russia, the Russia that we have today. And Gorbachev lost power. And who came to power? Boris Yeltsin. And Boris Yeltsin and Gorbachev are both seen as US stooges. Okay. After the USSR disintegrated, Gorbachev appeared in a Pizza Hut commercial saying that, the USSR is gone, so what? We have great American pizza now. Let's enjoy it. And Boris Yeltsin, what he did was that he destroyed the Russian economy. To summarize everything in just one sentence, okay, he was instrumental in destroying the Russian economy. So he was essentially a US asset. So when you have a nation, newly created nation, with your asset running it, why will you not allow that nation to join, to gain the USSR's permanence in the UN Security Council? So I'm sure it was not a good move even at that time, even if their puppet was in power in the USSR, because long term, who knows? But I think at that point in time, the US was going through this moment of hubris. This was the great unipolar moment. They had won the Cold War. They had defeated the USSR. At that point in time, they probably thought they are invincible. And that's why they made the mistake of allowing Russia to take over the USSR's permanent seat in the UN Security Council. I'm pretty sure that it's considered to be a mistake now. But that is what happened. And then, as we know what happened later in history. Boris Yeltsin was a drunkard. and a very bad president who did lots of blunders. He lost the first Chechen war, and eventually he was replaced by an unknown guy called Vladimir Putin. And then the rest is history.